Yo, what is up guys? It is Bumfris, back with episode 106 of our Reddit series. This one's going to be a bit of r/IDontWorkHereLady, and I have a feeling you're going to love this one. Bro, the amount of Karens and entitled parents in this episode is really going to get you guys either absolutely frustrated or you're going to be laughing your ass off, so make sure to stick around to the end. Do me a quick favor, like the video and subscribe, then sit back, relax, and get annoyed at a couple of Karens. So, this one happened a couple of years ago, and the school staff and the police stationed at the school still have a good laugh about it with me every now and then. This story could fit in another sub, but I felt like this one was the best. Now, I work for the state justice system in a diversion program for juveniles. Part of my job requires me to ensure that the youths are going to school and not getting into further trouble. So I tend to be at certain schools a lot due to some of the areas that cover being rural countries with normally only one main high school. Often I just meet with the family and the youths at the school for convenience, for different reasons while being supervised by me. Normal parents of well-behaved kids have often mistaken me for staff, and I found it easier just to direct them to the staff that they needed. At this point, I never really had a Karen run-in, at least in this situation. In some rural areas, the alternative school is still on the main school campus, but has its own small building where the students are basically in a jail-type school. They cannot leave without a staff escort beyond that building, they have their own bus, separate lunch, and cannot be on campus after student school hours for any reason, or participate in school events of any kind, or they face being arrested for trespassing. Now, students can find themselves in here for many reasons, and the school will send students to the alternative program for 45 days as an alternative to out-of-school suspensions. Then there are students who are sent there permanently until they graduate for one reason or another. And finally, students who get felony charges in the community are placed here as well, due to different school board policies, though they may or may not be on a permanent placement. During one of my visits while in the alternative class, a fight broke out. Not being school staff, I'm not authorized to intervene unless I am being directly threatened. So in the CCTV footage of the classroom, you can see me standing there calmly, twice taking a backward step to avoid being caught in the scuffle, and looking completely unfazed. Now, to the untrained eye, this is how it appears, but the officer who reviewed the footage even noticed that really, I was standing in a defensive, tactical position. This was mainly because the kid was going crazy and was just swinging wildly at anyone that came close to him to help the kid he was attacking, and did strike the teacher trying to put a stop to the fight. So once the situation was under control, the school and the school police officers go through the motions required, and of course, parents are called. In the meanwhile, I start my own reporting requirements for my job and work with the police doing statements, etc. At this moment, in comes Karen, mother of the student Hulk, who just rampaged a fellow classmate and was now detained in the back of a police car waiting EMS to clear him before being transported to jail. Karen demanded to see the footage because she felt that her child was being targeted by staff and police and that he wasn't really the instigator but the victim. While watching the footage and seeing that this wasn't the case, she changes tactics and decides to start targeting me, blaming the situation escalating the way it did because I didn't step in before or during the incident to stop it. Now, as a side note, I had my work cell in my possession and was responding to a parent that was running late to see me, and I was in the classroom to escort one of my youths to the meeting room as not to take school staff away for other needs on campus. On top of that, it's just faster if I go and get them as I have a clearance to do so. This Karen incident occurred in the dean's office, which is where I already was, and was asked to stay for one reason or another by the dean and the officer when she came in to watch the footage. Altogether, this whole interaction after watching the footage was not even 5 minutes. Karen suddenly turns her head around at me in a quick exorcist-style head turn and begins rudely yelling at me, saying, "Why are you just standing there and not doing your job?" I start to say excuse me, and Karen cuts me off. I was honestly caught off guard by her that I didn't really process what she said. She then followed up with, "You're just calmly standing there the whole time and didn't do anything to stop the fight. Why were you even on your phone? If you were paying attention, this whole fight probably wouldn't have happened. I want you fired for neglecting your job and not protecting my child." I tell her that I don't even work for the school, and she says, "Yes you do, and you need to be fired. I'm going to report you to the school board." The dean responds saying, "She really isn't school staff." Karen then quickly responds before the dean could even explain, saying, "Then why was she even in the classroom? Only school staff and police officers can be in there." The police officer says, "Listen, she is like me," and Karen cuts him off. Yes, she was even crazy enough to cut off a uniformed police officer mid-sentence. Karen says, "That's a lie. I've seen her here all the time working, and she's obviously not a police officer, so she is school staff." She's now directing her rant at me again, yelling, "You should be fired for laziness and causing this fight." Yes, somehow, her child going Hulk smash on a fellow classmate and destroying school property in the process was now all my fault. While my brain was processing the stupidity that was being uttered at me in the volume and pitch of what sounded like a velociraptor scream, the dean and officer tried to calm and redirect this crazy Karen, saying many more times that I wasn't school staff and tried to explain my role was similar to the police officer, in that I am not employed by the school, but I do work at the school under the justice system and courts. I tried to tell her as well that again, I didn't work for the school and I wasn't allowed to intervene in this situation. Karen was having none of it, and at that point, it was like talking to a brick wall in human form. There was a lot of back and forth conversation / velociraptor screaming going on that the other police officer came to see what was going on and ensure everyone, mainly his partner, was safe. And that was when it happened. Karen screams out, "She works here and should be fired. This is all your fault that my son is being arrested." With this last proclamation, Karen picks the candy jar that was on the dean's desk and throws it at me. Now, luckily, I have fast reactions, but in the process of protecting my face with my hand and arm, the jar broke and cut me significantly. At least it wasn't my face that got injured. It's kinda weird how crazy people have that uncanny aim when throwing things in anger to hit the face or head. I've never been so smug watching police tackle a crazy person to the ground and handcuffing them. Karen's screaming at this point just became a bunch of nonsense mixed with cursing, and to paraphrase it up, it was, "She should be the one getting arrested and fired. This is all her fault. She works here." So Karen was loaded into another police car and off she went with Hulk to jail for booking. In anticipation of some of the questions that you might have, I pressed charges on Karen and she spent some quality time in prison among other court requirements. Her son, the Hulk, ended up being placed with a family in another county that I worked in, and I got the pleasure of supervising him. Honestly, he was actually a pretty decent kid. He just had a very bad day, and the kid he attacked was part of a gang that had been harassing him, and he just finally snapped. Hence me calling him the Hulk in this story. He was successful and joined the armed forces and is still doing well in life and staying out of legal trouble at least. For the life of me, I really just cannot imagine where this kid got his awful behavior from and how he could have possibly ended up in, this section of the school. I mean, there's no possible way that it could be his absolutely horrible influence of his disgustingly behaviored mother, could it? I mean, she is like an entitled parent, but 1,000 times worse. First of all, she sets an absolutely horrible example for her child, and he ends up in this section of the school, which is for kids who probably could be in jail. And then instead of trying to nurture him and actually help him become a better person in life, she decides to teach him that taking absolutely no accountability for your actions is the way forward. Not only that, she also teaches him that assault is okay and, just that it's okay to be a bad person. What a great influence for a mother, and honestly, what a perfect example of an entitled parent, even though this isn't an entitled parents episode. If you've never been to the Magic Time Machine, a strangely themed restaurant filled to the brim with wacky decor and odd-looking waitstaff, well, you're missing out. One of the main draws of this restaurant is their waitstaff always donning the characters of popular and sometimes obscure media. I've seen everything from Spider-Gwen to Jack Sparrow to Doc Brown. The staff looks and acts like their character, making for a very strange but entertaining experience. One of the cool features of this restaurant is that everyone is given an autograph book, and they can ask the staff to sign it for them, and it just adds to the experience. Now, my story starts on my girlfriend at the time's birthday. This restaurant was her current favorite place, and that's where she wanted to eat. I know what you're thinking. It's a restaurant where everyone is in a costume. How could someone confuse you for staff? Well, the answer is, I'm a punk. We are talking the whole shebang. Green hair, spike and patch covered jacket, ripped up jeans, combat boots, piercings. I look as edgy as a 14-year-old who discovered scene music, and I love it. On this current day, I was wearing my favorite pair of bright red, ripped up skinny jeans, combat boots, and my dark grey battle jacket. As I was accompanying my partner to the salad bar, I heard a little voice from behind say, "Mummy, who is that?" To which the mother replied, "I don't know, you should go and ask him." Needless to say, there was a small tug on my battle jacket and a little girl holding an autograph book looking up at me. In a sheepish voice, she asked what character I was and if I'd sign her book. So I did what every slightly narcissistic punk rocker would do. I knelt down, took her pen, signed her book, and told her I was a character from the future that nobody knew yet, and that one day she'd find out. The child smiled and ran up to her mother with the book, and when my girlfriend handed me my plate of salad, I could see it sink into the mother's eyes what had just occurred. I could see the shock in her eyes, and I quietly mouthed, "It's okay," and smiled at her. I enjoyed the rest of my night getting absolutely roasted by my girlfriend and her friends, but I felt pretty dang cool. Whoa, hang on a second. This isn't the kind of story I was expecting. I was expecting stories of entitled parents abusing people in a store for absolutely no reason because they thought they worked there. Because, a random person in a store should drop everything they're doing and help a completely random person out for absolutely no reason. You know what? This is just not okay. We need to find some more stories that involve entitled parents, or what are we even doing here? So, here we go. My wife and I had a long day. It was getting late, and the only supermarket open locally was the Marks & Spencer's food hall. Now, this is an expensive place to buy food, but it was late and we were on our way home. At the time, I had just finished a long day in London attending various meetings. Because of the meetings, I was fully suited and booted, as they say in the UK. I was wearing a handmade blue pinstripe suit, a pale blue shirt with gold cufflinks, and a red tie. In addition, it was winter and I had a black overcoat on and leather gloves. In no way did I look like an employee. We went about our shopping and took our goods to the checkout. While my wife was unloading and packing, as she does like to do things in a certain way, I spied a small seat attached to the other checkout area. Now the lights on this conveyor were out and I was just leaning there. So up come the most stupid people I've ever encountered. They start unloading their shopping onto the closed conveyor belt. I thought it would be best to ignore them until one of them comes up to me and says, "Are you going to serve us?" I politely tell them that, "Sorry, I don't work here," and turn my back. In the background, I heard her say, "So you're not going to serve us?" and I just ignored it. After asking the same question a few more times and being ignored, they told me that they were going to fetch a manager and have me fired. I started laughing at them, which just made them more angry. Just as we were finishing our packing and I'm about to pay, they turn up with a manager pointing to the conveyor belt and then to me, demanding that the manager fire me for rudeness, refusal to serve them, and making jokes about them. The poor manager just stood there and said, "But they are customers. He is paying for his shopping. He is not and has never been an employee at this store. He is wearing a suit and an overcoat. How did you think he was an employee?" The answer from the Karen type was, and I quote, "Does this mean that he won't serve us?" The poor manager loaded up their trolley and took them to an open checkout. It was our cashier who came out with a perfect ending, and she said that the problem is, they have the right to vote. Kinda scary, isn't it? I feel like I should be pulling from this subreddit a lot more because, quite frankly, it's just entitled parents, but in a retail environment. I mean, let's be honest, a lot of these people are just as bad, if not worse, than most of the entitled parents that we read out every other day, so heck, I feel like this would be the perfect subreddit to do a mix of this and entitled parents in the same day, so maybe that'll be coming soon. So last week, my husband and I went out to a small little 50 Styles diner in our town. The food is cheap and delicious, and I'd been craving it since I'm about 8 months pregnant. We enjoy our meal and are getting ready to leave, and I told him to leave a tip and I'd go up and pay. There's 2 entrances to this place, and one happens to be by the register. It's a very small diner and can get crowded. I'm standing at the register, waiting patiently, minding my own business, when I hear, "Table for 4. Mind you, this place is seat yourself. I figured this woman behind me was trying to get staff's attention, so I just glance at her, and then I go back to minding my own business. Then I hear this old lady huff and puff and complain to her husband about how stupid the waitress must be. I look at her again since she's right in my personal space behind me, and she goes, "Hello, table for 4, I said." I looked this old bitch right in the eye and said, "Calm down, lady. I don't even work here, but since you wanted to be a rude bitch, maybe you should use your brain and look around. It's seat yourself." Old Biddy gives me a shocked look, huffs some more, and waddles over to a table. "Take that, you old bat." Damn, I guess that's what you get for messing with an 8-month pregnant lady. Don't go walking up on her unless you want to get a little bit of attitude in return, because this is exactly what's going to happen. Oh well, what more is there to say? Karens will just never learn, will they? Alright everyone, that is that for today's episode of r/IDontWorkHereLady. I just want to start off by saying thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all enjoyed the video. I really do hope you guys like the different subreddits. I'm thinking about just doing completely random ones from here on out because, honestly, it's kind of hard to find motivation to make a video when you're doing the same thing over and over. As everyone would know, and just in your everyday life, I'm sure you guys like to do something different. You like to mix things up, and that's what I want to do. So I'm going to try and find completely random subreddits that you guys will still enjoy. And maybe I'll try and find some subreddits that are actually a little bit more funny. Like, I felt like choosing beggars and that kind of thing used to be, absolutely hilarious back in the day. Maybe there's something else out there that's actually got some kind of funny substance to it rather than just story-based ones. Also, I know you guys really liked some of the commentaries that I did when I did a couple of the face cams ones, which unfortunately I did have to take down, but that's completely another story. So yeah, gonna be doing some of those soon. I just need to get the setup right. I have really bad lighting in my house and I'm not too sure how to combat that because it kind of limits me to making videos only during the day when I can have the blinds open and the lights coming in and whatever else, so it does make it a bit difficult. But yeah, that's a personal problem. I've got to work through that and that's just whatever. But yeah, something like that will be coming very soon. I'll probably try and do those 2, 3, 4 times a week if possible because they're a little bit easier to make and I can pump those out a lot better. But otherwise, enough of boring you with my life story. I am going to wrap things up there for today's episode of I Don't Work Here Lady. I just want to say again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're all having a fantastic day, and I'll see you all tomorrow for another episode of maybe Entitled Parents, but like I said, we're going to mix it up, so who knows. Anyway, again, have a great day, and I'll see you all later. Bye.